Welcome back. Hope you're doing well. A couple of weeks ago, I received a comment on a older YouTube video, Hosting Etiquette, How to Be a Savvy Host, Dinner Party Tips for Hosting. It's a great video. I haven't watched it probably since I approved it, but I know that there's a lot of great content in there, so I definitely recommend as we inch our way towards the holiday season. It will be here before you know it. So if you'll be doing any hosting, I have some great videos. I'll be sure to link several, including this one. But I felt the need to address this comment in question on here, and I'll share with you why. We'll kind of navigate, but let me read what this person put. She shares, we invited guests, a husband and wife, to watch a sport event on pay-per-view, and the lady brought her needlepoint to work on while watching it. Is that rude? She puts. Or should I look at it as she felt comfortable enough in our home to do so? It was the first time she had ever been invited to our home. I have never brought my crafts to someone's home as a guest, and I don't ever plan on it. I was trying to have a conversation. Oh, shoot. I have to go to the read more. Oh, boy. That's all I can say. That's all I can say is, Yes. Yes, like you. These little paper cuts happen all day long. You're not alone. Okay. Regroup. Deep breaths. I have never brought my crafts to someone's home as a guest, and I don't ever plan on it. I was trying to have a conversation with her, but she kept reading the instructions. And when she wasn't reading, she was needle pointing her project. She started as soon as she got here and continued until they left. I was in awe. I am curious, those of you watching, if we go back to the question, is that rude, what this lady did? I'm curious what your knee-jerk reaction is. I didn't have a knee-jerk reaction by reading this, and a lot of that could be what I do as a profession, as a coach, because I always believe that there's a bigger story, and I don't have the bigger story. And not to analyze this too much, I want, and I say this all the time, don't get caught up in the story because there's always going to be a message. What this person is sharing, and thank you, Maria, for sharing it, is the story. But there's some layers to the story, and we can learn a lot about ourselves in those layers. So I don't know if this is rude for the person who wrote this. I have no idea. I cannot make that decision. I cannot determine if someone sees that as rude. A lot of you watching today will find that to be rude, and some of you may not. And a lot of it depends on how we look at things, how we view things. I will share that I do love that the person who reached out and shared her story did say this. Or should I look at it as she felt comfortable enough in our home to do so, to do her needlepoint? And I'll be honest with you, that's kind of the lens that I'm leaning to, but I don't know this person. So I think all situations are unique, and there's never one simple answer to anything. In one moment, you may see something as rude, and in another moment, you may not. All situations are unique, and it could depend on the people. Number one, I do love that this lady felt comfortable enough to come into her home and feel that she would be approved and accepted for this. So yes, I have to say I can back that. To me, rude is when someone does something deliberately with ill intent or in a mean-spirited way. So if someone does something that maybe isn't what I would do, I don't view that as rude if there's no mean spirit or ill intent or backhanded comment, as we're all familiar with. Then I may see something as unacceptable or rude, and I will handle that situation in that moment of how the dynamics are then. There's no tried or true. It's not black and white. It's very gray. So it's an opportunity for us to check ourselves. Not everyone is going to see from the same lens. Many people share something as rude just because they see it as inappropriate. But again, who's to say that something is inappropriate? You may see it one way, someone else may see it differently. I have to believe that the woman that brought her needlepoint did not feel she was being rude, nor did her husband say anything to her, obviously, or maybe he did and she just did what she wanted anyway. We don't know the whole story. But I think it's an opportunity to check yourself, because I hear this often in coaching where someone will share a story with me and they will say the same thing. Isn't that rude? Do you think that's rude? And I'll always challenge the client. Did you feel this person meant any spite against you? Now, while I do find that it is unfortunate that when the person who wrote to me, she shared that when she was trying to have a conversation with the lady doing needlepoint, the lady continued to read the instructions, and when she wasn't needlepointing, and when she wasn't reading, she was needlepointing her project. I'm not great at multitasking. I have a hard time doing something and listening, but many people will tell you that they hear you. Yes, I heard you, even though they're doing something else. From my experience, I really don't feel people are listening thoroughly, but I don't know. I know I couldn't do that and multitask in that way, but this particular lady may have felt that she could. So I do find that to be unfortunate, but I don't believe that the lady meant any harm if she wasn't hearing crystal clear everything that was being shared. Certainly she wasn't being engaging, but the question that was proposed to me is that rude? So it's not about whether I would do it or you would do it. The question is that rude? And I have a hard time believing that it is, because I truly believe that the lady meant well and she felt comfortable enough. But here's what I want to capitalize on. This is something that comes up all the time in coaching, and I even hear it in just everyday conversations with acquaintances that I may be around at a get-together, gathering, or a party. The person put, I have never brought my crafts to someone's home as a guest, and I don't ever plan on it. So because I wouldn't do that, it's rude. I want you to challenge yourself right now and ask yourself if you do that. I hear it all the time. Well, I would never do that. Let me give you an example. I would never chew gum while in conversation with someone. I would not do that. I find it to be highly inappropriate for me to do something like that. I find it to be disrespectful, let alone what it looks like. And if you have ever been in conversation with someone chewing gum, you know it's usually blue or green, because you can see it. And while many believe no one can see their gum because they push it, to the side in the back of their mouth, When you're in conversation, it's very much there. So because I believe it's an eyesore, and I feel it's disrespectful for me to do that, therefore, you will never see me chew gum while in conversation with someone. Now, I'm in many conversations with gum chewers. Many. I see it all the time. I have actually been on Zoom meetings or in Zoom sessions. I've actually witnessed other coaches coaching their clients with gum in their mouth. Now, do I see that as rude? Do I see people who chew gum while in conversation with others rude? No, not at all. Not at all. For one thing, they mean no harm. There's no ill intent. They're not being mean-spirited. They probably actually aren't even thinking about it. It doesn't even cross their mind because they're a gum chewer and it's just what they do. So they don't see it that way. So they're just not looking at it from that lens. I don't see it rude, although I would never do it. So I want you, again, to not get caught up in the story, and there'd be no reason to take offense if you're a gum chewer while conversing with others, because I just shared that I don't see that as rude. You just won't see me doing it. And I shared very valid reasons why. I think it's very unflattering. I mean, you may want to check yourself, but it's just a preference that I have. It's something you're not going to see me do. The point is, if I wouldn't do it, and I don't ever plan on it, now I view something rude because it's something I wouldn't do. So the core of the message today is for all of us to check ourselves when we are judging someone else for what they're doing because they're doing something that we would never do. Thanks for being here.